Hey, yeah, 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 rock and roll. As we go, I'm happy, joyous, double joyous. I made $150 Canadian today. Thank you for not forgetting about me. Last year I did a little bit of a job where I got a new table, and I got a few weeks ago a call back, and then I did some follow-ups, and today I worked 5 hours for $30 an hour. $30 an hour, $30 an hour, and that's the most I ever made, $30 an hour. With some job, a little bit of physical, a little bit of a physicality involved, some scraping, some dusting, some cleaning, but I made $30 an hour. Last time I worked, I was at during COVID, several employments. I think the last one reached $22.63, and I was supposed to start with Post Canada for 2024 or something like 22.60. 22.44, something around 22.44, okay, plus Canada, but I don't know if this is gonna be a repetition, but if it's gonna happen often, but it happened today. So, June, gonna pay my electricity bill, pay my rent, and gonna put $50, I'm gonna give $50 to my anonymous friend, because I broke a little bit of a handle from the washer and dryer. I pulled it kind of too hard, and I wanna contribute to buying a little bit of the filters, water filters, so my anonymous friend, I guess, since June's coming, and I don't have to declare it because it's not 200, because I get the social, the support from the government. But look at these beautiful white flowers. So this is my only job for May, for May. So that's what it is, man. And I'm financially stressed still because I got that $10,000 in debt, but I'm glad that they know I have Asperger's, so they know that sometimes I can be weird and awkward, except when I rock and roll or when I work out, train, exercise, which is something that I love as I go towards the sun now. And I just saw some youth, happy, joyous, singing some of that song, and you got the public workers there doing some of that good work, good melodies, always. And it's gratitude, man. Grateful, thankful. I made my promise that I'm gonna buy for the coming Sabbath. I'm gonna buy a Canadian, Quebec made wine, because remember last time, a few months ago, even last year, when I went on my long marches filming, and I got a little bit of that good work where I go to there's a store, and where that store has only Quebec or local made Canadian products. So here's a dragon here's a dragon workout marching, and I need to get a little more hydration, I guess. I got a little bit of that lemonade, but it's a hot day. It got 26 degrees, and we got to get on that work with that, and they got to get the work with there and on the doing on that, and that's what they get doing for the love side of things, and that's what we got to get on that transmission and on the lines here for the public workers. As we go, we're going to go all the way to, of course, the place where we're going to switch it up by the bridge. We'll come the other side, go around about it, and gonna get a little bit of that meditation, man. So it's something which we gotta get doing with that, and something which we gotta be on the transmission side, and we always gotta be grateful, for we gotta get doing on XYZ, and we gotta get doing for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and the grocery store clerks, and all those who got us involved or involved in the production, distribution of food, auctioning everything that I'm wearing. Thank you to my anonymous friend for this nice bag, and auctioning it $1 million to give half to my anonymous friend. And he reached 26 already, finished at 3, started at 10, so 5 hours straight almost. I went 3 times to the washroom, but that's what I gotta get, a little bit of salutation, rock and roll, man, for the construction workers. And that's what they're doing here in Quebec, la belle province. We gotta get it for the workers, and please give them a massage therapy session. I got that big backpack. Got those red gloves in it. I said I was gonna put some shorts on, but I decided not to change the shorts and to keep getting on the little short sleeves, and I didn't put the shorts in the backpack, but that's where we're gonna go get it on that, and gotta stay hydrated. It feels like a summer day, and I wonder all the work what they're doing in the public workers to change underneath, all the aqueducts, all the plateaus which they have to go underneath is to have the privilege, to drink potable water is something which we have to be doing here, as it's got to go underneath, and all the changing of the aqueducts, the sewers. I think I'm going to have to switch and go on the other side. Maybe there, on the side there, on the sides. Yeah. So it's hot, It's hot. Here we go. So I gotta take a salutation because it's at 26 degrees and they're there giving some of that labor here. The public workers, Bishopville, they got a little bit on their go. That's how they gotta get building here, man. The public workers. The most important is the body to be safely. And see, they got some know-how, I guess, made all the way in whatever the case may be, and that's a good player building. And it's a lot of work that needs to be done, you know. So I like that blue and white. Kind of makes me think of the Quebec flag, you know. And that's what we have to verify on the left and on the right, and on the right and on the left here when we cross the street. Just prudence, because there's no stop sign there, so I just have to be prudent myself, you know, because I am just post-work, so I have a little bit of a fatigue, I guess, working fatigue, because I started early and I woke up early and I had to do my geopolitics, you know. What I put there to get it on, and sometimes we just got a good doing, you know. Gonna watch some of that gridiron and see what the Super Bowl gotta go with that. What Super Bowl is that?
20.
Oh my goodness. Miami Dolphins?
No, in Miami.
Oh, the 20 is the Chicago Bears.
2020.
Oh, 2020. Oh, 2020. Okay.
It's 2020 in Miami.
Super Bowl 54, 2020. Okay, cool. I'm a 49ers fan. That's why I was wondering if it's Super Bowl 20. That must have been when the Niners were winning in the 80s.
No. Have a good day.
You too. Take care, guys. Well, we lost last year by 3. Anyways, the 49ers, and you know, we went to the finals. Not last year, 2 years ago. We lost. We didn't do well last year, but 2 years ago and before that. But because they got their Super Bowl, man, and please give some charity. NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB. You know, that was a 2020, so that was 2020. Yeah, I'm gonna check it, you know, 2020. It wasn't one of my favorites. It wasn't one of my favorites. One of my top favorites was, of course, the Hardball Ball, top 5, or, you know, the Hardball Ball where my 49ers lost to the Ravens, but still, they made it all the way to the end, and that was, of course, about 12 years ago, you know. So that's before this one. But this one, 2020, Miami, they played Super Bowl 20 in 2020, so that must have been Super Bowl 52, right? 52. So I gotta go check it out now, see? Now gotta love my gridiron, but you need to give some charity to the public workers, you know, who pick up the aqueducts, who change the aqueducts, the sewers, you know, all the public workers who pick up the garbage, you know. Gotta give them some discounts, and go Oilers, go. I gotta say, you know, you gotta go get that Oilers, and Oilers won again. Good victory, 4-1. What a game, 4-1. The other game we won 6-1 against Dallas. So if they bring that cup to Canada, where it belongs, give some charity, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, you know, owners and players, and please reduce the cost by 44.9%, because that is my estimated calculation for the cost which needs to be reduced, or we are, and give some tickets, you know, to the public workers of the North American Collective, because that's how I rock and roll today, May 28th, for the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. You know how we do with the back cadence style. Pledge your allegiance to our family and friends with benefits only. Thanks for understanding, you know. I'm glad I got this little opportunity. Unfortunately, to make some money today. Unfortunately, money is to buy, sell. It serves a purpose. Unfortunately, in my community of neurodivergence, people with Asperger's, the vast majority of the problematic is that there's a lot of labeling and misunderstandings of what Asperger's is, meaning that it's a neurological mental divergent condition, and that our brains have these mutations, and there's a high unemployment rate for Aspies. Aspies is even 60, 70, even 80% across different places in North America. But imagine, between 6, 7, and 8 out of 10. Look at that. This is cool here. You're just getting a little bit of books. I'm just gonna check what it is, and you know my special interest, because as we have special interest is geopolitics. So I'm gonna check if there's any books on geopolitics, and I gotta disinfect my hands, of course. Oh, you got a little bit of that French. You got French and English here. Oh, this would be geopolitical related, definitely. The colonial heritage of Latin America, and you know, I'm a mystic, so I believe in reincarnations, and I met Simon Bolivar. Simon Bolivar was a great Latin American, South American, of course, who established the Gran Colombia. And of course, this is something, essays on economic dependence and perspective. I pretty much know about it, so I'm not going to take it, leave it for somebody else, because I pretty much know about it. But there is one book, so one would fall into the category, definitely, of geopolitics. That would definitely be geopolitics, the colonial heritage of Latin America. And of course, everything to do with our brothers and sisters in the South. As us, we are North, you know, a North American Civilizational Collective, and you know, they got more and more flags, but I got my flags there. Canada, 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 so I have my flags on the go, and that's what it is with that. And you know, I always have my flag, Canadian flag, and I always say the king is absent, you know. It's time for the Republic. It's the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, you know. Myself financially struggling, stressed. My only stress now is financial, you know. Besides that, I don't have additional stresses, but just sometimes I'm sore. I'm craving massage therapy sessions, you know. But friends with benefits only, that's how we're gonna rock and roll. Friends with benefits only, that's how we're gonna rock and roll from now on. From today until the end. Friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance, to our family, independent aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, honest, and theorist, and mystic who loves yellow flowers, who is happy, content, joyous, that made $150 today. Honest work, hard, not that hard work. I think I was expecting to negotiate, and when we negotiated, the employer said, who offered me the business opportunity, he's shooting me a number, and I was actually going to ask a little bit below the market. I was going to ask for $25.44, and I got offered $30 an hour, so that's not bad. Please, if you make more than that, if you're a millionaire, billionaire, and I smell some of these good lilacs. I smell so good here. Don't be so selfish, you know. Money is to be spread, you know, to buy, sell, and we gotta get spreading a little bit of that joy, and we need to mass finance a little bit of that, and that's how we gotta get doing, man. For my brothers and sisters, you know, who are across the North American Civilizational Complex, whoever come to join us from outside, you know, constitute a new North American Civilizational Complex. We're a new complex, meaning we're not totally divorced, but we're distinct from Western civilization. So we're not divorced from Western civilization, but we are distinct. And here's a pothole that's probably gonna be filled soon, and we need to implement my DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange unit. That is the solution now, as I'm going to proceed in discussing it. So again, back to Aspies, there's a very high unemployment rate, and very high, way too high, way above, because we're not a lot of my community is a tiny small portion of the population. There's only less than 1%, less than half of a percent. It's about 0.44%. 0.44% is really not a lot. It's less than 1 out of 300. So less than 1%, less than half of a percent. So it's 0.44%. That's not a lot. That's not a lot. Really not a lot of people have Asperger's. And due to these mutations of the brain, again, Asperger's is not a mental illness, but due to these mutations of the brains, we can sometimes be very seemingly weird and awkward and strange the way we communicate and interact socially. We can have certain bodily movements which can seem awkward and weird and strange, and that's just how we proceed, you know, in discussing the things which usually interest us, our special interest. And my holy trinity is geopolitics 24/7, sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and rock and roll. So in those three, I excel, and for years and years and years, I've been involved in work, arbeit, travail, trabajo, in those three areas mainly. And of course, those special interests can preoccupy our daily routines and daily habits, which they do, sometimes to the detriment of other things in life, to the detriment of certain things we can neglect, and we can be average, mediocre, so at some things, while at some other things we can excel really good. And when it comes to geopolitics, in the realm of geopolitics, I am pretty much top among top, creme de la creme, as the saying goes. But of course, and I have proof of what I'm going to say next, I predicted what's happening now. Back in 2019, I predicted an international conflagration. So I predicted an international conflagration in 2019. In October, November 2019, I predicted an international conflagration. In 2019, I predicted an international conflagration in October, November 2019. You heard that right, and I have proof of work, because I have proof online. I made it, and I created also consequently a workout training program system made to go hand in hand with such a scenario, such a workout training program, as I just said aforementioned. So I have proof of that work, and of course I'm going to reiterate now because I'm on the subject, which is my subject, and I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. And of course I predicted what's happening now, and that's here. We got the board on the go, and we got to get on that doing, because we got getting on the go. And here I'm going to cross on this side here. So I just wanted to do a little bit of U-turn. So basically, being an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, who has predicted what's happening now in a general manner. And of course, I am a North American theoretical analyst and theorist, because my theories, fundamentally, most and foremost, are for what I call the North American civilizational complex for North America. Meaning my initiatives and my protocols to be implemented, because as much as I know the philosophies, ideologies, and histories of nation states, as I specialize mostly in the 20th century, specifically the Cold War era, and that was one of my main fundamental common denominators of why I predicted that there's an international conflagration, aka World War III, coming, is due to the fact that many nations, civilization states, were not able to resolve their conflicts from the 20th century. So in a major part, that is what's happening. Right, those conflicts have reignited. Those conflicts dating from the 20th century have restarted in the 20th century, and specifically from the Cold War period, which lasted more than 44 years, almost 45. So between 1947, March 1947, and of course December 1991. So of course, meaning that they lasted a long time, almost 3 generations, so 45 years, almost 45 years. Specifically, it's between 1947 and 1991. But of course, those that it is with that, and that's what it is, and that's how we gotta get understanding of that volume, and the fact that my predictions came to fruition in a general manner. So not in an overall manner, but in an overall manner, not in a detailed manner. So in an overall manner, my predictions came through, but not in a detailed manner. So without fundamental details according, my predictions have come through. I predicted that it's going to be coming an international conflagration, a World War III in the coming 7 years. I put starting October, November 2019. And for most of what we see now, that is exactly what's happening. So that is exactly what's happening. So back to what I was saying in October 2019, that it was what I predicted, that there's going to be an international conflagration on the horizon. And of course, that was my prediction, That's what was my prediction about, meaning that the nation-state civilizations and regions of the world, many, not all, had unresolved conflicts dating from the 20th century. And I predicted that the details were more in-depth details to my analysis, but one of the major common denominators was around the fact that these unresolved conflicts are going to restart in the 21st century. So for the major part, Russia-Ukraine, it's an unresolved conflict from the 20th century, right? It's many ways you can say it as it's kind of a sectarian in many ways, because Ukraine and Russia were part of the Soviet Union. Israel, Palestine, Israel, Hamas, Israel, the Middle East as well, right? Those are conflicts from the 20th century as well. And another one, of course, potentially on the horizon is China and Taiwan. It could happen then I go back home and I see that, of course, China has invaded Taiwan, the ROC, the Republic of China. It's just, of course, Pakistan, and India also. After they split in 1947, they have fought several wars, especially around the Kashmir situation. Just 2-3 weeks ago, we saw that the situation in Kashmir, the Kashmir situation, has almost escalated into a full-blown, even potentially nuclear war. Now, my prediction was, of course, that the war is not going to be necessarily nuclear. I left it was a probability of around 50-50, but the other probability was 2/3 of a biological weapons use. Now, me, I had COVID in 2020, February, March 2020. So I survived COVID. Exactly when, I don't know exactly the dates, but like that Super Bowl, it was exactly, well, I guess I was more sick at one point than another, but between February 20 and March 2020, February 20 and March 2020, so between mid-February till March 2020, I was sick. I was really sick. I really felt sick, I thought I was gonna die. So my sickness was like death, pestilence, and disease, So that was my surviving COVID, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, man. I survived COVID, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing on the love here. I'm a bit in the way here. I'm gonna get on the go and cross the lion. See, you get the lions, man. That's the lion, though. Lion. Those are electric, Lions, man. The youth are happy, joyous, safe. I'm happy, joyous. That's what's important. It's just they need to be staying hydrated, and of course, hydration and sunscreen, because it's really hot. It's hotter than usual, So I was gonna go check the arena, actually. Check how's the process with the arena, That's what we're gonna go doing with that, and so we're gonna get doing on the go, and so we're gonna get on the love inside of things, and gonna get it for that XYZ, and so we gotta get doing now, So that is something which we have to be. For the children, I'm calling for the building of those 44 tunnels, first for the children, the youth, in case of a thermonuclear war. Like I said, my scenario left 50-50 on it, but it was probability-wise, mathematical probabilities, there's going to be a nuclear conflict. But on the other question, there was, of course, the question of bioweapons. And bioweapons, the higher probability, 2/3. So my scenario was my World War III scenario, with which I created as well a workout training program system designed, made, and created to go hand in hand with such a scenario, called the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the Dragonomy Workout. General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka Dragonomy Workout. The General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka Dragonomy Workout. And that's what I created. That workout training program system. Beautiful flowers there. Wow, so long. The tulips. So the tulips. So that's what I created, and that's what I perform myself. More than 372 sessions, and I have been during COVID advocating for the implementation, of course, the financing of my workout training program system is in schools, universities, and even the security services, armed forces, police, as I'm of course calling for a few years now, for the public-private partnership creation of the North American integrated Security Service and Defense Legion, SSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legion, SSD Legion, Security Service and Defense Legion, and for the Dancing Goddess Army to go complementary with it. Part of my dream, the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for the unification of the North to know strong and free with my brothers and sisters, the South, North and South Canada, United States, in a public-private partnership, and creating those complementary covenant public-private partnership institutions for the 21st century, only for SSD, Security Service and Defense principles, and of course for the 50 states, 10 territories, 3 provinces, that's 63, and of course this union, fusion, implementation of my Trinity of theories, because yours truly, Quebecer, Canadian, Quebecer, was born in the United States 3 times, post 70-76, once was born as a woman, twice as a man. Twice as a man. So the fact that I was born twice as a man, I served in the United States Armed Forces 2 times, 2 different times, 2 different wars. I've served in the same army, that is, same U.S. Army, 2 different wars. The wars were 156 years apart though, and of course once I was born a woman, that's why you get that 50-50. 50-50 now, and that's how we got, and that's how we gotta get our rock and roll, man, and kind of get it on the go, so always butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters across the North American collective, Wall Street millionaires, billionaires, finance some fitness, finance some reconstruction of the North American inner urban cities, aka the ghettos of North America, Canada in the north, United States in the south, across the 63, the ghettos. Let's rebuild the ghettos, let's rebuild the ghettos, let's rebuild the ghettos. And here, I used to do lots of volunteering. I used to serve lots of food, and lots of food, lots of food. Here, serving lots of food. In past, I did a lot of volunteering, so I serve food, and that's what I serve food here, and that's what we gotta get doing. Now I see that it's built some more, and there was lots of building which was done, and construction workers got a salute, because my will to build the 444, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, where once me and Donald Trump are going to fight to inaugurate it. It's going to be built on the Canadian-US border, public-private partnership affair, and I got to salute the construction workers to build that North American People's Imperial Coliseum, which of course is going to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome, before known as the Louisiana Superdome, and before that it was known as the outfit between Mercedes-Benz. So basically it cost a little bit. It changed names, just like me. I changed my name, but officially still have to pay that money. But I see this is progressing well, this construction here, so I'm gonna enjoy it. It's bigger than before. I used to do volunteering here, but in the old arena. Now it's gonna be a new one, so that's gonna be a nice one here, and there's gonna be some financing, and it's got 6 million from Canada and 10 million from Quebec. Although the placard, the banner there that was set up, it went down. It was Canada joined, so Canada, Quebec joined, provincial, federal, as we have here the government, and the king is absent this time for the Republic. So I guess 16 million if you add the 10. See that one? They went down there, so it kind of went down. See, let's go see, but. This is the 6 million, and on that one you've seen past videos from last year, from 2 years ago when the construction started, and it's gonna be bigger and newer, because the old arena was kind of crumbling, and I didn't think that they took it off here, but this is what it was indicating. Unless it's on the other side, it fell on the other side. I'm not gonna lift it, but this was indicating the 10 million put from Quebec, so I'm guessing 16 million total. So let's build on the Canadian border the North American people's Imperial Coliseum for Sportis in Perpetuitis, for Sports in Perpetuitis, where me and Donald Trump are going to inaugurate it, because I've been challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since that mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. And of course, that's when I have been him, and we'll continue to challenge Donald Trump ever since then. And this is how we rock and roll. We're going to build it on the Canadian-US border. It's going to be 11 times bigger than the Caesars Superdome. Caesars Superdome. Where my 49ers lost by 3 points to the Ravens, but still a good game. One of my top 5 favorite Super Bowls of all time is that, which I just mentioned. It used to be known, the stadium changed names. Now it's known as the Caesars Superdome. Is one of where a lot of 7 or 8 Super Bowls were played, maybe 8 total. 7 I know for sure. 6 I'm certain, 100%. So a few Super Bowls were played there. One of my favorite Super Bowls was the Harbor Bowl, aka Blackout Bowl, aka Bro Bowl, Super Bowl, where the 49ers, my 49ers, San Francisco, for the Empire, lost to the Ravens by 3 points. So they had lost to the Ravens by 3 points. But it was a good game, so that's why I included one of my top 5. And it has several nicknames, the Super Bowl. The Harbor Bowl, Bro Bowl, Blackout Bowl. Blackout like my memory, because, I got some memory loss. Not early, so I have a good memory from the past 7, 8 years. Then 9 goes a bit on the dark. 10 goes a bit foggy, and after 11 is like blackouts. Maybe because I used to live in a kind of like a prison cell where there was lots of mold, and I was attacked by surprise and fell my head. Had a dislocated right arm. Cracked it back, was put back, kind of cracked back. I was bloodied up, full of blood, and my right arm was put kind of by the Jewish General Hospital here in Montreal, Hawk Island, Montreal, N.A.C.W.P, Hawk Island. Was kind of snapped back by the doctors, and I was put on some meds for the pain, and I was kind of out in a few days. I was like in a coma, and I guess my Cillian Pirate episode, you can call it my Cillian Pirate episode, so that is my survival. And I moved from that moldy place, and I was depressed, suicidal. In 2017 I crossed Canada coast to coast. Come back to that event, because that event really changed my whole life. And before that I was depressed, I was suicidal, and that event really turned my whole life around. I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, Hawks, Chicago Blackhawks, my fellow Canadians who are family, Quebecers, Canadians, and who are family. And hello. So that's what we gotta do. I love this tree here. See, it's just so special. It looks a bit acacia-like. See how it's split up? It's kind of yellowish. It's kind of very beautiful. Just something about them, right? Look at that. It's just so gorgeous. I guess we're lucky. It's a big city metropolis, but we still got a lot of trees, a lot of greenery, especially my second home, Mount Royal. And I see beautiful flowers here, which I love, because it's that spring, and these just smell good to me, at least. Oh yeah. I was wondering if actually you can boil this and make tea with them. I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm not encouraging that, of course. I'm just saying that I was imagining, if they seem like, you can actually do some tea with them, but I don't know for sure. But they smell good. It's like chamomile, it's just beautiful, eh? White bushes smell good. Scent is medium. Kind of, when you get close, it's pretty strong. So back to what I was saying, I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017, and because before that I was depressed, suicidal, and that changed my whole life. And during COVID, I survived COVID in 2020. Between February and March 2020, I had COVID. I got 3 vaccines, triple vaxxed, and there's a workout training. I did a lot of physical activity today I'm not gonna do, but I guess I can do some pull-ups here, because gotta thank the workers who build it, build this work, and not just for me but for us, and gotta take advantage. And then gonna go hydrate and discuss my DRT, death fusion theory, as we gonna go inside and go on the left and go on the right and go a little bit of that home, so that is always fun. And to work out, I always get to do some pull-ups here. It's pretty much you can work your whole body, so many things you can do, and I'm just gonna do a few, I guess, pull-ups here, not too many. So yeah, after that I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and survived COVID. COVID was like death, pestilence, and disease. COVID for me was like death, pestilence, and disease. I say death, pestilence, and disease on my knees, please. Death, pestilence, and disease on my please. But I thought I was gonna die, and in many ways I did die, you know. So here I am. This some stretch, and I feel some good here, and always get to do some of these pull-ups, you know. On the bigger one as well. Gonna stretch a bit. And I guess with just pull-ups, you know, with just pull-ups, there's so many things with just doing pull-ups, and certain exercises like push-ups and pull-ups, those are full-bodied exercises which you can get, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. Full body. Oh yeah. I don't want to overdo it, but I came a little bit of, it's nice. Gotta disinfect my hands first thing I get home. I guess I have my disinfectant with me because I don't know, I know it's something which is important, you know, to disinfect the hands, you know, because you never know. I mean, bacteria, germs, microbes, and I think I have my disinfectant, but oh, the dog is upset with somebody, something, not sure. So of course I crossed Canada in 2020, and correction, in 2017, summer 2017, in August 2017, and went in BC, British Vancouver on the west coast first to the Pacific, and then came back in September, went to the Halifax to Nova Scotia, you know, Nova Scotia, Halifax. So went to the east and west, man, cross coast to coast, and getting on that east and west, and that's what we got, you know, the butchers, bakers, nurses, and doctors, firefighters. You gotta watch it for the cars, for the youth. Gotta ask like a hawk, N.A.C.W.P. I consider them my family, you know. I don't have children on my own, but since I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017, you know, summer 2017, that's when I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians and consider family. And that's what got me out of depression, you know, because I had a revelation. I kind of said to myself, so many things to see, to do across Canada, in the North American Collectif, United States included. Still got to get those 50 states, you know. March dance, 50 states. And that event changed my life, so I was depressed, suicidal, and unfortunately not. There's just, in my Aspe community, which being an Aspergerian, Asperger's again is not a mental illness, it's a neurological mental divergent condition. It makes us, of course, predisposed to those special interests and to certain weird, awkward characteristics in the way we interact, or we have a tendency to repeat things 2-3 times, to have certain strangeness, body movements, or certain things as echolalia. Echolalia might be part of our daily routines, our daily interactions, meaning that we might repeat the same sentence or a phrase that somebody says. So we can sometimes be direct and straightforward. We can seem direct and straightforward, and it's certainly certain things which might seem offensive, or things such as echolalia, or utilizing too much intellectual, academic, philosophical, more sophisticated terminology and use of language when it's not required. So those are peculiar characteristics of Asperger's, which is not a mental illness, part of this minority, less than 1%, less than 0.5%, less than around 0.44%. So there's not a lot of Aspes in the world. It's just we have these mutations of the brain, so we see the world differently, and there's no medication, you know. You cannot medicate Asperger's, you can only manage the characteristics. And again, there's not symptoms. Symptoms is for a mental illness. symptoms is for a mental illness, you know. Mental illness or other illness, those are symptoms. But now when it comes to Asperger's is mutations of these brains which make us socially awkward and weird, and gotta get it for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the farmers, the firefighters, and those electricians, you know, those plumbers, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. Now flipping some of those burgers, I gotta think about the truckers, and gotta get a little bit of that nose because it gets a little bit pollution here. So I gotta inspire, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, exhale, inhale, I guess, as less as I can, you know, to not get overly polluted. Well, it's not that much, it's just that when it's hot, you know, due to the heatness of it. Due to the heat now, due to that, how it's hot, you know. I mean, for me, I don't mind hot or day or night or storm. It's something, of course, which I gotta do, and sometimes which I gotta be propensity, and so we gotta get doing with that, you know. Fitness, and we got some studio fitness there, and it's always good to get some loving and get some fitness and encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, man. You gotta watch the street here when you cross the street, you know. Turn your heads left and right. Always gotta be prudent, you know, so you never know. So I'm gonna cross. Supposed to have priority here. I'm supposed to get on that priority to pass, you know. So anyways, that's all we got, and that bank is gone. I used to go banking there, but they kind of took the bank away. I used to go often for the bank, but no more. I guess they took the ATM machines and they took it there, and that's what they took it for, the XYZ, and I guess they're gonna maybe replace it, and that's how we're gonna go do it with that, and so we're gonna get salutations, you know, to the workers here, get a little bit of that work, you know, done, and that's how we gotta get for those, give them a raise, I guess, those who change, you know, the diapers in the daycares, those of course who are in the working in the retail, cashiers, you know, so it's always got to get on that go, you know, and got to think about them and think about those minimum wage earners, and how about an executive order to get those minimum wage and to get those minimum wages going up, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, man. And you know, we got butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, you know, we got firefighters, which we gotta get doing on that, and gotta get on that joy, man, you know, for the children, the youth, the elderly, for the North American Collective here. We gotta cross prudently, you know, we gotta cross prudently with that. We gotta get on the now, and that's what we gotta get doing, man. We gotta think about all the things which we have here, and me loving, I just love these bushes. Ah, it smells so good. White bushes gotta smell so good, you know they should. Oh, there's one last night. Gotta get it for the cup. Oh yeah, look at this, man. Man, women, man, you get that 50-50 with me, but it smells so good. I like the smell anyways. I'm wondering if this is actually drinkable, you know. Drinkable, maybe, you know. That's a beautiful bush there, isn't it? Just gorgeous. So luscious, man, you know. That's how it is, man. Gotta get it with the lusciousness, you know. Sometimes what you gotta just do and turn the street and cross prudently. Then we get it in and get it back and get it inside and go to get a little bit of volunteering. And yeah, I gotta give a shout out, man. Public workers, the North American Collective of the 63. You know that I gotta sing for the public workers. You know they got the steel and the metal and the concrete, and hey man, civilization is a privilege. Civilization is a privilege, you know. All the civilization is a privilege. That's why we need to get a little bit of that pedigree and a little bit of athletes. Give them some tickets. Give them some free tickets. Rock and roll concert if I would, and public workers gonna give big discounts, you know. Big discounts to the public workers, and we gotta get it for now, and we gotta get it for the butchers, the bakers, and for the youth, the train conductors, and that's all we gotta get doing, man, here, you know. Cost 13.3 million, and let's build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the Forgotten Goddess. Forgotten Goddess, Forgotten Goddess, Goddess Temple. Of course, the Forgotten Goddess Temple is something which I will to build, and something which I credit my surviving to the goddess. To the goddess. To the goddess. That's what it is, and gotta get a little bit of that hydration, man. Gotta get a little bit of hydration. It's thirsty, man. Forgotten Goddess Temple, GODDSS, created my survival to the goddess, and of course, oh yeah, that's what we gotta get doing, man. That's it. So that's what I gotta get doing with that, and that's all we're gonna get doing, man. But just think, I'm doing a little meditation, right? So all the aqueducts which we have in Quebec, in North America, we gotta put them on the perspective that to drink potable water, we have the privilege of this civilization. You see that's brain and muscle right there, and just put into practice, you know, the theory and development of aqueducts, which dates back to ancient Egypt, ancient Rome. So I gotta give them some love and some salutations. You know, it's not all about Wall Street. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get on that rock and roll, you know. So something which we gotta be doing, man, you know. Think about that in a integral manner, and think about that somebody now is drinking the water, or maybe taking a shower even. Taking a shower, making coffee, you know. So that's part of the privilege of civilization, which was my thesis back in 2023. I have to revise it, redo it, but generally, of course, that was my thesis. The privilege of civilization. That's what it is. That's just the privilege of civilization, you know? So in other words, civilization is a privilege, and we have this great civilizational privilege, me, you, us. Not just the individual, but the whole collective. So that's why it takes a public-private partnership, you know, to get it on the go, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know, with that. Sometimes we just gotta be, man. Sometimes you just gotta do, you know. Sometimes you just gotta see, and you just gotta be, and you just gotta take every day at a time, you know. Carpe diem it, I guess. So I survived COVID, and having survived COVID, you know. I survived COVID in 2020, February, March, across the street here, safe, never know. Cars come fast sometimes, you know, they can't brake, they just press the accelerator. What if it presses the accelerator instead of brake? So those are all things which can happen, you know. So I'm just gonna check if I have another garbage to discard here. Yeah. I just got it all, man. There we go. I just got it all.
Are we going out on her birthday? She never told her to reach out.
We operate. Anyways, so this privilege of civilization, basically to make a synthesis, is because these things, you know, which we have, such as running water, electricity, all these things are a privilege in many ways, you know. This civilization as a whole is a privilege. So under the umbrella of the definition of a civilization, you know, take the roads and aqueducts and all the things which we have, you know. That's what it is with that, and that's what they gotta go do, you know. So it's something which we gotta do, you know. So we gotta get doing, you know. So it's just the way it is, you know. The way it is, man. So you know, so it's just how it is. You know, so it's all the minds and white boys, man. Sodomize, you know. No. That's in the music, but no. Gotta watch here when you cross the street, and that's what they gotta do, it, man. Cross the street brutally, you know. Don't throw garbage, man. Put it in the garbage. So that's basically what it is, man. It's just rock and roll. The privilege of civilization, basically, is the whole complex of which we have, but I'm referring for all civilizations, but generally for the North American civilizational complex. That's all we gotta get doing with that. And that's what they can, you know. It's just civilization as a whole is a privilege. Civilization as a whole is a privilege, you know. So that's what they gotta get doing, you know. And we do it, you do it, I do it. But we all have it. So we all have this privilege of civilization. So all of us have it. From the one financially struggling like myself, but who's grateful for today's work, to the millionaire, billionaire athlete, artist, rapper, whatever the case may be, give some charity, chant a little bit of that rap. I chant with you for the farmers, truckers, butchers, firefighters, you know, the plumbers, the electricians, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. That's all we gotta get doing with that. I wonder what that is there. You know, this Asperger's things is sometimes we focus on those details. I gotta check my eyes again, but I wasn't able to. I mean, that's because of the finances mostly, but I didn't get the eye prescription because I was prescribed glasses, but I didn't get that eye prescription, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. So something which we gotta do, and I'm gonna go again in June to my teeth as well. So. Because I got those medicals and I gotta get that health and I gotta get wellness, but wellness starts in the sun, working out, training, sweating for me, or by the river, by the fire and the water. That's where my health begins, with also mental health, with gratitude and you know, all this privilege of civilization, you know, that we have, you know, because it's a privilege. Having running water, having electricity, all of it is really just a big privilege. Civilization is the whole civilization, and of course it's applicable to everyone, from the billionaire bankers, financiers, business billionaires, and tech giants or whatever have you, to the ones who are even of course lost their liberty, you know, and lost their liberty, and whatever the case may be, you know. So now I want to discuss it's a nice red. I want to discuss the DRT, the debt refusion T. Super important for me to discuss the DRT because, of course, it is the solution to the current financial problems that many of us have, individuals, and I guess my stress is less today. My stress is less, financial stress is less, because that's the only stress I'm dealing with. And again, you know, Asperger's, we're not allowed in the world, but the unemployment rate is super high. It's 70, even 80%, sometimes between 60 and 80%. Can you imagine that? Well, usually the numbers for the neurotypicals, which you are 99.56% compared to us 0.44%. So imagine the gap. Sometimes unemployment is 5%, 4%, 6%. Aspies is between 60 and 80%. And Aspies, usually we have employments, we have jobs, it's just maintaining them long term. Due to our special interests, we have to have some support in that. Some level of support, because usually our special interest, we are super focused, super dedicated, super intense when we deal in those special interests. And of course, my trinity is geopolitics, study analysis. I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport and fitness activity, dancing. Although I love gridiron, North American football, boxing, besides dancing, gymnastics and other things like that, you know, and rock and roll. So that's basically, our life revolves around those habits and ritualized routines, you know. So it's just because our brain has these mutations, so we look at the world differently. We see the world differently, and we communicate sometimes differently than other people, the majority of the people, the population, which are the 99.56%. So a lot of unemployment comes because of that. Sometimes social awkwardness and the way we communicate, interact certain things. We got that social interaction to get it going. That's how we gotta get it on the love side of things. So it's something which we gotta be on admitted side, you know. So something which we gotta do, man. Just explain and sometimes keep it simple and have this syndrome and characteristics, and that's why I see the world differently, and that's how sometimes my interactions can seem awkward and weird, and sometimes seemingly way too direct, maybe too straightforward, but in certain matters that's a little bit of perhaps raw honesty. Sometimes I guess it's applicable. Raw honesty, you know, like. And a concrete example, you know, you're supposed to say, I'm good, how are you? And I'm good, how are you? And then if I'm not feeling good, I will say, I'm so-so, I'm okay, I could do better, I could do this. And those were my answers, usually what I honestly felt, or some things like that. Or sometimes even when I say financially stressed. So this honesty type of thing, which more direct, you know, straightforward, is something which is, because you say, I'm okay, it's like a social thing, you know. It's a social thing. So basically, you're basically, a lot of people lie every day because they say I'm okay, but they're not really okay, right? Say how are you, but you're expected to say I'm okay, right? But you're okay, but you're not okay. So you're not okay. I'm not okay, or I'm so. And then. And so this brain divergence, difference, distinction, and mutations make us weird, awkward like that in social interaction. And so we might say how we are really when you ask, you know. And it's like, I was expecting yes, I'm good, how are you? You know, the etiquettes, the normal communications, and which sometimes they're not. Aspies were, it can be weird like that, or compared to the norm. What's normal? What's the normal response would be to say I'm okay, but usually even now until this ends, I'm financially stressed, economically stressed, commercially stressed. I'm looking to pay my $10,000 debt, but I'm grateful, you know, because I got everything I need for today and for the coming days. Today I'm grateful I made $130 an hour, and yeah, man, you know, it's it's a blessing for me. I'm grateful that they remembered me from last year. I did a little $50 job, and I watch your laces. Your laces. Yeah, you're welcome. Just so that my fellow citizen doesn't trip, you know. Oh yeah, it's better, buddy. Yeah, you just, unless you know and you're aware, but how long laces and if you know, you know, I guess. So to finalize on Asperger's, it's the problems is very high unemployment, very, very high. I still gotta give a shout out to fellow Aspi who I haven't got any donations, although I'm open for commission and business 24/7, but I got $25.44, $25.44, and $25.44. So meaning that I got $25.44 donation, that is, and that's what we gotta get doing, and that's how we gotta get on that loving side of things, and that's how we gotta get incorporated, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get on that rock and roll, man, you know. So it's on the do, you know, and financial stress survives so many things, but I don't like violence, I don't like violence, but high unemployment rate, and also very high rate of depressions and suicides, you know. So I live with my scars, and I live in hypervigilance, you know, hypervigilance. I guess if you come against me, make sure you don't miss, you know. If you come against me, just make sure you don't miss, So I'm hypervigilant ever since, I guess, I got out of being depressed, and ever since I had COVID, and I got plenty of scars. I was attacked, you know, several times. Mostly by surprise, and unsportsmanlike. I guess I got my own silly Empire episode, and I got some fitness, you know, ever since I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017, and that's what it is with that. In 2017, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, that event changed my life. You know, I gotta go take a turn, check that bush out. So that event changed my life, and I lost between 80 and 93 pounds ever since. 80 and 93 pounds ever since, and that's why I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. 80 and 93 pounds. 80 and 93 pounds ever since. Between 80 and 93 pounds. And I'm very proud of my geopolitical work, and me having created the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, which I created back in 2019 to go hand in hand with that workout training program. So I'm really, really proud of that system which I've created, which is a simple, effective, and efficient system which requires no equipment. And the rules I'm going to discuss now, because I'm on the subject, the rules are simple, kind of simple. So one is allocated 93 minutes and 44 seconds, and actually is 9/11 of a second. So it's almost 45 seconds. 93 minutes and almost 45 seconds. 93 minutes and almost 45 seconds. 44 seconds and 9/11 of a second, which is a fraction. Perhaps Aspie thinks, oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful flowers. So basically, that's what it is with that. Wow. I love that red, yellow flowers I love, but look at these. Yeah, just gorgeous. What? Nice garden here. Pretty nice. So this is the workout training program system. One is allocated 93, correction. It's 93, so an hour and a half with plus 3 minutes. 93 minutes, 44 seconds and 9/11 of a second, so almost 45. 93 minutes and almost 45 seconds. One is allocated to do 100 push-ups, 100 hawks, 100 squats. Once the countdown starts, you cannot pause. You got to keep it in motion by either marching, jogging, or running. by either marching, jogging, or running, by either marching, jogging, or running, by either marching, jogging, or running. So I've created it as simple, efficient, and effective, and that's what I created it to go hand in hand and to increase overall general fitness. Increase general overall fitness. Increase general overall fitness. Increase general overall fitness. And of course to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario. So to increase general overall fitness, that's what I created to. That purpose. It's got some science behind it. A simple, simplistic science to increase general overall fitness because it requires no equipment. So one is allocated 93 minutes and almost 45 seconds to do 100 push-ups, 100 hawks, 100 squats. Once the countdown of the 93 minutes and almost 45 seconds commences, one cannot pause. One has to keep it in motion by running, jogging, or, of course, marching steps or walking. So there's no stop, no pause. Wow. So one and another you gotta mention, important, is 13 reps maximum per set, 3 minimum. Maximum 13 reps per set, minimum 3. So between 13 and 3. So that's another nice bush there, the white bush. See? Wow, the corner. I just love those white bushes in. Smells so good. So between 13 and 3, one cannot pause, one cannot stop, and one of course has to get it on the go and do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 hawks. So that's the trinity, and anywhere between 13 and 3, and you can do 7, 6, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, whatever the combination, until you get to 100. But maximum 13, minimum 3. So those numbers go together for the rules, 13 and 3. So it's like basically 4 main rules. The total 90 of minutes allocated to complete the workout, which is 93 minutes and 45 seconds. And of course the other ones is keep it in motion. You can do maximum 13, minimum 3. And that's what we gotta get doing with that. So that is that rock and roll. Try do it. That's the de facto standard examination for the Dragon Army. So the Dragon Army, the aka the North American Integrated SSD Legion, which have been and will continue to call for the advocation coast to coast across the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories in 2019, October, November. Ever since 2019, I created myself, performed more than 372 sessions. 372 sessions. So those 372 sessions, that's what I created, and that's what I gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go. So that's how we gotta get salvaging, So 372 sessions I performed myself, and I changed the A of my surname into a no. I guess I still gotta pay down money cash. Maybe I'll put 10% of 150 is 15% towards the fund to finally change my name, because I need that money to change it with the lawyers and whatever have you, and that is something which we gotta be doing. So now I will to discuss the DRT, the debt refusion theory. Super important that I do discuss it because it is the solution. The DRT, debt refusion theory, is the solution. Is the solution. The solution. The solution to where we are financially now. Financially, economically, we are in a precarious situation, and much of the public and the private financial situation applies simultaneously for Canada and the United States, for what I call North America, or the North American civilizational complex, which of course includes Mexico and the islands and Cuba, Haiti, but I'm referring for a simultaneous joint Canada, United States joint venture, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, So something which we gotta implement, the DRT, debt refusion theory. DRT, debt refusion theory, which integrates in it monetary integration theory. So inside, integrated in my debt refusion theory, is integrated the monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. And again, we have no other solution. Of course, it can be another solution, but it has to resemble closely, fundamentally, the financial mathematical principles have to resemble my theory, the DRT, fundamentally, in essence. It just has to. Otherwise, there's no solution. You can argue all you want, but it has to be similar because we're on the verge of a public-private financial collapse. We're on the verge of a public-private financial collapse. So that's what we have to do. We have to do on that PPP. We have to create the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, and that's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we gotta be implementing. And I'm gonna wait a bit. So the DRT, debt refusion theory for the creation of the UE, the universal exchange, and is something which we have to implement simultaneously for total security, total service, total defense, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know, for total security, total service, total defense, the new 911 Dragon Army, the new North American 911 Dragon for total 911 protocols, initiatives and protocols of the new 911, because 911 to be furthermore for security, service and defense integrated across all 63, 10 provinces, 50 states and 3 territories. Because basically 911 is also not just Canada but the United States, and of course now it's just for emergencies, but in the future I see it as for integrating for total service, total security, total defense, you know. And those protocols which I've written date before COVID and during COVID. A lot of them are, of course, revised and updated during COVID, and it's on a constant daily basis because geopolitical events happen on a daily basis. So the DRT, we have to implement it. We are on the verge of a public and a private financial collapse or record credit card debt. Personally, I don't have credit card debt. I have a $10,000 debt to the RBC, but of course, much of the public financial system, financial debt, we're of course on the same things with that. So same things which we are of course involved, and that's how we gotta get doing on the love side of things, and we gotta get implementing on the DRT, you know. So we gotta implement the debt refusion theory, and of course we have to implement it across the North American Civilizational Collective, across the complex for the North American Civilizational Complex. That's how we gotta implement. So basically my DRT theory of course integrates, of course, monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So all the public and the private debt, we're gonna take it together. So my $10,000, your $10,000, all the debts, public and private debt. So my $10,000, your $10,000, we're gonna take it all. We're gonna take it all. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. My $10,000, your $10,000, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So something which we gotta be doing, man. So it's something which we gotta be on the now, man. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt and all of it. My $10,000, your $10,000, and theirs, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, all the debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. Gonna check out the fridge here. So all the debt, public and private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars. And again, it's an emergency, so we have to kind of speed up and hurry up. I wish I could fill the fridge up, fill it something up. Oh, there's some food I'm not gonna take, but that's good. I wish I could just drop so much food in it one day, I guess. Maybe sooner than later. Now we're just gonna zigzag here, but also I gotta be prudent, you know, because you don't want to get into the way of nobody, and I don't want to certainly get into the way of anybody here, because we gotta cross that street safely, you know. So be safe, prudent, and vigilance, and rock and roll, man. So we are on the verge of a public and private financial collapse. We are on the verge of a public and private financial collapse, you know. We're on the verge of a public and private financial collapse. So again, of course, some citizens are well off, but the vast majority of the public and the private financial situation are living in a precarious situation. In a precarious situation, you know. So in a precarious situation. think I'm gonna go to the lights. We're gonna go to the lights. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna do basically like a circle maybe. Circle. So the DRT, debt refusion T, you know. The D, the R, debt refusion T, the D, the R, you know. The debt refusion T. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt. Gotta get out of the way of the police. Somebody gotta rock and roll for the Popo and the 50 and the 911, and somebody gotta rock and roll for my brothers and sisters who do their criminal rehabilitation. Love you. Sing for your rock and roll. Discounts, man. Discounts at my shows, if ever, you know. Dancing or whatever. For sure. Make your criminal rehabilitation. We need you. We need you to build the 44. We need you to 44 tunnels, and we need to implement the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, and that's all we need to be implementing, you know, across the North American Collectif as soon as possible. Gotta salute the bus drivers, and that's all we gotta get doing for the Hydro-Quebec workers, and that's what they gotta get doing now, man. For all those involved in the production, distribution of food. Also for those, of course, involved now in the daycare workers who changed some diapers today. The DRT theory is a must. So we are on the verge of a public financial catastrophe. Much of our private and public debt is in a very similar precarious situation, and we have to implement the DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the UE. So basically I'm going to discuss it now as I stretch a little bit on that, and that's what we got to get doing on that slow-mo, and so we got to get doing on the now, man, you know. It's something which we got to do, and something which we got to be mindful of. Here we got to be careful for everybody crossing the street safely, you know. Got to get that prudence. Yeah. So the DRT is the solution or something similar. It has to look fundamentally similar to something. The DRT, debt refusion theory, is of course my theory for the North American rehabilitation programs, and I'm going to explain it now. So we're going to take it all, the public and the private debt, my $10,000, your $10,000, all the money, all the debt, public and private debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, my debt, your debt, their debt, all the debt. The public and the private debt. So all the public private debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, including my 10,000, all that, we're going to of course take it all together. And we're going to of course convert all the public private debt into the US dollars, into the US dollars. So we're going to create and take it all into the US dollars, and that's what we're going to create. A new currency based on the value of the US dollar. So all of it, all the public and the private debt, we're gonna get it on the go, east and west, and we're gonna go to go and go toe to toe, and we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, we're gonna take it all, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That number, that money is gonna be of course converted into US dollars. We're going to add all the public-private debt of Canada with that of the United States dollars. On this number is going to be a huge number, and this number is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. 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 So we're going to create the UE, Universal Exchange Unit. The UE, U dot universal, U dot exchange, U dot unit. The Universal Exchange Unit, the UE, is going to have, of course, the value of the US dollar. The UE. The Universal Exchange Unit. It's going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to create the UE, U dot universal, U dot universal exchange unit. the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, is going to have the value of the US dollar. So that money is going to have the value of the US dollar, and that's what we're going to be creating, the value of the US dollar. We're going to create it all. And here we're going to go a little bit, I guess we can zigzag. Actually, no, I changed my mind. I was going to go through that side, but changed my mind. So we're going to create the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit. Actually, we're going to create this UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, which is going to have the exact value as the US dollar, right? So it's going to be the exact value as the US dollar. And so the Universal Exchange Unit is going to be the initial money supply. Initial money supply. The initial money supply, the initial money supply. So basically, it's going to have this value. But I will take it through here, and I'm just going to turn around. So the UE, U.Universal, U.Exchange, U.Unit. The UE is going to have the value of the US dollar, right? It's going to be a new currency. Well, that money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. You know, all that money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank. So all that money, the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, we're going to create this new currency, the UE, and the money in circulation will be the public and the private debt of Canada and the United States, because we have to implement it binationally. And of course, whatever the other case is, all the other money in circulation. So add it all up. Add it all up. Add it all up. And that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing on the go, and that's what we gotta get doing on that rock and roll, man. And that's what we're gonna get doing, man. And build more social housing, build more power plants, build more hydroelectric dams here in Quebec. We're gonna do lots of good with that money. We're gonna be able to mass finance citizens' fitness, mass finance fitness activity, mass finance the building construction of those 44 tunnels. 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. And of course, we're going to create those two institutions. We're going to mass finance wellness, citizens tourism, mass finance fitness, because it's good for mental health and it's good for the body. So, you know, we're going to do lots of good. So from Montreal here, Hawk Island, the DRT paradoxically is the solution, you know. There's no other solution, but something which resembles my theory is the solution. Fundamentally, in essence, that is the solution. That's what we gotta go doing with that. And so we got a little bit of flowers here, which are nice, and you can check a little bit of that flowery stuff if you like, if you're into flowers. And here we are, you know, in the XYZ, and gotta give a little salutation to the construction workers, because by implementing my DRT, we're gonna be able to implement and do the North American Imperial People's Coliseum, and we're gonna be able to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, and we're gonna be able to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple. We're gonna be able to build consequently as well the pyramid, House of the Dragon, Scarlet Crimson, Scarlet. That's what we're gonna be able to do, and the Scarlet and the Crimson, and that's what we're going to be able to masticate and build, of course, the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow neurodivergent community. I wonder how much it is there to rent. 514-357-1766, 514-357-1766, 514-357-1766. And, you know, I'm grateful for where I live now. Where I used to live, that's what I remember. It was like a small prison cell, even smaller than a prison cell, you know. It's like moldy, so I left that place. I think it's gonna be 10 years in July, and then much of my life prior to that is blacked out. But paradoxically, on the table now I have the DRT, the debt refusion for the creation of the Universal Exchange Unit. And that's what we have to do, and that's what we do, and that's what we get it on that love, and that's what we're getting on the now. And here we got some machines. It takes some brains and muscle, but my DRT has to be implemented. We're going to build across the collective, the rebuilding of the infrastructure, the aqueducts, the sewers, by implementing my DRT in a public-private partnership manner, because it takes that brother Scorpio of mine, Bill Gates, and it takes the public institutions and private institutions, both financial banking and otherwise, and also to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions for the 21st century, being the Dancing Goddess Army, aka North American Integrated Dance League, for dance for the environment, environmental purpose and pleasure, because it's fun for me as well. As my favorite sport to dance, and for the body, for the mind, and of course the Dragon Army, to serve for solely for the purpose of the SSD principle, the Dragon Army, aka the North American Integrated SSD Legion, for the 63. That's a nice green. For the 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. That's 63. Huh? That's, do the math. 10 provinces plus 50 states, that's 60 total, plus 3 territories. 13 of Canada, 50 of the United States. We got that 63, so that's how we're gonna rock and roll it. We're gonna go across the bridge there, and we're gonna clock it in, because it's a smaller march today, because yesterday clocked in more than 6 hours, and of course before that clocked in more than 4. So now with the work done this morning, physical labor, we're gonna clock in more than 2, and that's gonna be average 4, because 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 4, that's 12, divided by 3, that's gonna be 4. So tomorrow, meaning we gotta do more than 4. And then it's Thursday already, so that Friday before the Sabbath, we're gonna need to clock that up and clock it in and clock it out. So that's how we do, man. So we gotta get rock and rolling. So the DRT explained once again, we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, my $10,000, your $10,000, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We're gonna convert it into US dollars. All that debt, public and private debt, we're gonna of course add it with the United States dollars, and that money is gonna be the initial money supply. The initial money supply. All the debt, public and private, plus what exists in circulation for this new bank, and we're gonna create the U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, the U dot universal, E exchange, U dot universal, E exchange, U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, the U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit, the UE. It's gonna have the value of the US dollars. So the U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're also going to set an interest rate level of 10% on the money thereafter. So by the new financial accordion principium, it's not going to be able to be more than 10% interest on the public debt. So when you take loan, whatever XYZ is going to be 10 maximum. It could be 3.33, 7.18, 4.18, 1.56, 9.3 by principal. So that's going to be the new principle. All the public-private debt. With that money, we're going to do lots of good. Lots of good. For the environment, for wellness, we're going to mass finance new buildings, social housing, rebuilding the ghettos. The North American inner urban cities of North America, we're going to rebuild the ghettos. Mass finance, citizens' fitness. Mass finance citizens fitness, and mass finance people to work out, to train, and to exercise, and mass finance citizens training and fitness and what have you. And that's all we're gonna have to be doing, and that's all we're gonna have to be loving with that, man. So the DRT, death refusion theory, for the creation of the UE. So we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get on the go, you know. So something which we gotta be on the things and on the go, and gotta love some, you know. You black, white, or in between, or a little bit of each, a rainbow, but you gotta be 18 plus, you know. You're a man, a woman, black women, white women, black men, white men, you know. Whatever, you gotta be 18. Come loving with me. You gotta play that Rainbow Dragon love and implement the DRT. We're gonna finance mass fitness. People to work out, train, exercise. We're gonna mass finance fitness, mass finance, fitness activities across the collective. Gonna mass finance citizens to work out, mass finance citizens to train. Lighter. Let me check. Not sure. I don't smoke cigarettes, so.
Okay, fine.
Oops. Sorry.
Suck it in.
Let me check.
You're looking for one?
Nah,
No?
not your lucky, man. Good luck. But I have a lot at home. But at home, you know. Ciao, ciao. So what it is with that, and so what it is with the crossing on the street prudently. And here we're gonna go on the mountain. Anyway, so we're gonna get it on the love side of things, and we're gonna get it here on building bridges, just like myself. I gotta build bridges. I think I got 7 at home, 7. So I think I'm gonna carry 2, 3 with me. Next time I'll give one. You know, so yeah. No, I don't very rarely smoke. I have cannabis. I bought more than 4 years ago. I think it's gonna be close to 4 years, whatever the cost may be, close to XYZ, and that's what we're gonna get doing here. Gonna pass it on the side, man. Gonna go doing it, you know, and that's what you gotta get doing on the XYZ. That's what they wanna do, man. Get out of the way and make a little bit on the side things here, you know, so. Because I gotta build bridges. As neurodivergent, I always gotta build bridges within myself. Neurodivergence and aspects, you know, to get it on the go and get it on the now, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, you know. So that's what we gotta get on the love side of things, you know. Something which what do I say? I don't know, whatever the case may be, and that's what we gotta get doing, man. I love this one. What does that say? I'm not sure. Some are just indescribable, and that's what they gotta get doing with that. So they gotta get doing on that, you know. So they gotta get doing with that, and I guess it's a way where this okay if you can really do some good. I guess we can make an arrangement for these placards, or put some placards, you know. We can make an arrangement. Let's put some placards here across the whole bridge, and just who can do really good art, or just give way, you know, put the placards and just, you know, just to give way and to let people just do whatever the graffiti they want to do, you know, if they want to do on that, and that's what they gotta get doing, if the impulse, you know, rather than scribbling, but with permission, you know, with work from the city. The whole thing could be done here, you know. We can put placards, and you know, the security services, the police can get involved and put a little bit of a placard with that, and so we gotta get doing on that goal, man. So it's XYZ, and that's what we can do with that, man. Just fine as that. That's something I could work out with, and my scribbling, I'm just gonna make an eye in a pyramid, I guess, and stars maybe, but that'll be my contribution, and maybe the pi symbol, because constants, hey, the pi symbol. My Asperger's is a constant, and I just have to constantly build bridges and work on the characteristics, but that is something which we gotta be doing on the go, you know. So something which we gotta be on the affluent side, and gotta get done with that, you know, to get it on the lovely, you know. So it's something which I gotta be on the understanding side of things, and here we go, you know, for the love, and for the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the firefighters, for all truckers, the nurses, the doctors, and switch a little bit of that French, man, because we in the province where we made the great linguistic compromise, and I gotta put it up, you know, for the French language. That's just how I gotta drop it. That's just how I gotta play it, and it's something which we made a great linguistic compromise. But before I do, I'm gonna say I really need to hydrate a lot on the go. So that will be on the hydration diet with Acte blessings on that, and that's what we gotta get doing, man. The hydration, a little bit of that, you know. That's what we gotta get doing on that here. A little bit of that hydration here, and I used to do a lot of volunteering here, serving food, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. We gotta get it on the love side of things, and gotta get it on that love, you know, for the butchers, the bakers, and my brothers and sisters. I used to do a lot of serving of food there. I gotta turn my head left and right before I cross the street. That's how we're gonna get there. There's somebody coming fast and I'm going, man. So we're gonna get doing, and they're gonna get on that love shit and this. So we're gonna get doing all red, man. Fellow citizen, brother, sister, my brothers and sisters, her blacks, you know. My neighbors included. Sometimes we have certain racism. I'd rather just offer what I have: hugs, kisses, rock and roll. You know, money I don't have, but I wouldn't have reservations to finance and employment in any position such as that. But you know how it is: the dream, the dancing goddess, and the dragon kingdom, and that's what we gotta get doing. And so we gotta get doing for the love, and we gotta get doing now for that drill, and sometimes which we gotta get on the doing side of things, and we gotta get on the side of the French now because we got that belle province, and we get it on the do, and we get it on the bakers, and we get it for the butchers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, and all those now who get it on the doers and on the truckers now on the road. They gotta get it on the best and on the left and on the right, and gotta get that cadence. Not today for the cadence because it's gonna be less than 3 hours today, but other than that, we can do that cadence anytime, any day. You know, Dragon Army cadence. Probably do the Dragon Army. That's how we rock and roll. I guess we can do a little bit. I'm gonna just hydrate here. If I can hydrate, and actually I'm gonna hydrate over there. It's best. Gotta give a salutation, turn your heads left and right, although you're not supposed to go there too much. Firefighter trucks. Here a few years ago I remember coming and I worked. I was working in the environmental work, which is kind of really fun. But it was a kind of like contract, you know, a few months. So let's see how hot it is. It's just water. I'm gonna drink it all with this. HYDR88. Oh yeah, 591 mLs on a hot day like this. Just like nothing, I guess. HYDR80, super important because it's on the hot side, and it's not summer yet, but it does feel like a summer. I'm just gonna disinfect my hands as well. See, I got Canadian made in Canada. Antiseptic gel. So I'm gonna use it and a little bit more. A little bit of spray. Sunscreen. My son salutations. And that's it, French, because we in La Belle Province, and that's how we gotta roll it with, and so we got hydration, man. I don't mind the sun. I don't mind storms or rain and thunder. Sometimes I go on the mountain when it's, of course, really just so hot or so cold, even cold, hot, extremes, you know, storms of winter storms, hot storms, and all sorts of storms, man. I guess I'm a storm sometimes, but I like peace. I'm not violent. I don't like violence. I'm just hyper vigilant and intense, concentrated focus for that French now. Et voilà, on est rendu à une petite marche québécoise. Je vous invite à faire des étirements à une canicule, hein, 26, 27, peut-être plus. C'est vraiment, ça sent comme, on dirait, tu sais, juillet, tu sais, mi-juillet, fin de, tu sais, juillet, août, là, c'est des... pas pour le mois de mai, même pas juin, là, c'est... on est en fin de mai, mais je veux dire, c'est comme l'été, je pense. C'est comme la canicule, là, c'est vraiment ça, un jour d'été, là, c'est en profondeur, tu sais. D'habitude, c'est censé d'être à peu près entre à peu près 15 degrés, là. Entre 13 et 20 degrés, là. Fait de 7 degrés à peu près, entre 10 et 20, là. La moyenne, tu sais, pour dire, là. Puis c'est peut-être moins de 20, là, la moyenne, là, pour le mois de mai, là. Même en fin de mai, je sais qu'on est bien, il reste 4 jours de mai, là, mais jusqu'au 31, on est le 28 aujourd'hui, là, mais quand même, je trouve là, que c'est quelque chose que... Il fait chaud pour le mois de mai. C'est la canicule de juillet, ça, d'habitude. Bon, j'ai commencé avec la gratitude d'ailleurs aujourd'hui, j'ai fait 150 $. 30 $ de l'heure, c'est... Je ne vais pas le déclarer parce que c'est moins que 200, là, 200 pour le gouvernement. Fait que c'est le seul emploi que j'ai eu du mois. Là, fait que je suis pas obligé de le déclarer parce que de toute manière, il faut que je paye mon loyer. Déjà, juin, janvier, en fin de semaine. Là. Fait que déjà, je vais devoir payer mon loyer, c'est ça. Mais quand même, j'ai eu une bonne opportunité. Quelqu'un qui me s'est rappelé de moi de l'année passée. Fait que ça a été un bon emploi. Là. Ça a été 30 $ de l'heure. Je suis content parce que je vais pouvoir m'acheter un vin du Québec, puis du Canada du Québec. J'ai trouvé une place à la Chine. Je vais pouvoir donner un peu à mon ami anonyme pour acheter des filtres d'eau. Puis je vais peut-être mettre un 10 $ de côté, bien sûr, pour avoir pour que je m'en fasse une petite... Pour le changement de nom, là, pour mon changement de nom. Là. Ça va peut-être être des fonds que je vais pouvoir mettre là, dans le côté ou quelque chose comme ça. Ça, c'est pas beaucoup. Puis mon seul stress en ce moment est financier. Hein. Dans les finances, c'est mon seul stress. À part ça, ça va bien dans ma vie. Hein. L'entraînement physique, tout ça. J'ai passé la dépression, j'ai survécu la COVID, j'ai survécu être attaqué par surprise. Et j'ai été attaqué par surprise, voilà un couple d'années. You know. C'est des choses que j'aime, bien sûr. C'est des choses que j'aime, bien sûr. You know.
I just realized I didn't buy anything.
Et bon, c'est dans cette opération-là que je dois le faire pour dire, bien sûr, que j'ai fait du dollar. J'ai travaillé, puis ça en fait du bien. Puis j'ai la gratitude pour ça, là, qu'ils se sont rappelés de moi. Là, c'est des choses que, bien sûr, ils auraient pu pas s'en rappeler. Puis l'année passée, j'ai fait un petit 50, puis j'ai une nouvelle table. Là, fait que c'est quelque chose, de, bien sûr, que j'aurais fait pour avoir, bien sûr, dans ce point d'avoir du travail, parce que vous savez que l'Asperger's, nous les Aspi, on n'est pas beaucoup dans le monde. Fait que le problème, c'est que chez les Asperger's, chez nous, chez ma communauté, le problème, là, c'est que nous, là, le taux de sans-emploi est très élevé. C'est entre 70 et 80 %. Puis la moyenne, c'est 6, 5 4 là. Imaginez-vous 60 6 sur 10. 6 sur 10. 7 sur 10, 8 sur 10, c'est énorme. Sur 100, là, c'est 60 à 70 à 80. Sur 100, c'est possible que ça soit 60 à 70, là, 80. C'est énorme. Puis encore une fois, il y a beaucoup de progrès qui s'est fait, mais c'est pas une maladie mentale, encore une fois, tu sais. C'est juste cette condition de neurodivergence, là. cette condition de neurodivergence. Moi, je vois le monde différemment. Nous, les aspis, on voit le monde différemment à cause des mutations qui se sont... Notre cerveau, il y a des mutations, tu sais. Fait que ces mutations-là, mais ça fait bien sûr que dans ces mutations, à cause de ces mutations, on voit le monde différemment. Puis moi, je suis quelqu'un qui n'aime pas la violence. Je suis hyper vigilant moi-même à cause de mon trompe, mes souffrances. Puis je me suis fait attaquer par surprise dans une couple d'années quand j'étais allé à l'hôpital juif. Puis j'avais le bras disloqué. Je l'ai tout ensanglé. J'étais tout en sang, tout ensanglé. Puis j'ai dû aller à l'hôpital. Ils m'ont replacé remis le bras, là, comme recraqué le bras. Puis bien sûr, j'avais ce point de craquement dans le bras. Fait qu'ils m'ont replacé dans l'hôpital, là, général juif. Là. Fait ils m'ont replacé ça. Fait que c'est ça. Puis j'ai été mis sur des médicaments, puis j'étais comme dans un épisode de coma, puis c'est bien sûr dans ce point de convergence que je dois dire que je suis. Puis ça fait un couple d'années, là, mais puisque ça fait un bout. Là. Avant que j'ai déménagé où j'habite maintenant, avant j'habitais à une place, il y avait beaucoup de moisissures. C'était une petite place en souterrain, là, dans un sous-sol. C'est comme quasiment pire qu'une prison, comme une petite cellule de prison. Là. C'était comme une petite cellule de prison. Là. Tu sais, comme il y avait beaucoup de moisissures. Mais ma vie avant ça, j'ai comme un blackout de mémoire. Là. J'ai de la misère à me souvenir de ma vie avant ces événements-là. Je sais que j'ai habité sur l'île de Montréal, ça fait longtemps. J'habite là, ça fait peut-être 10 ans où j'habite maintenant. Mais quand je m'en reviens, 7 ans, je m'en souviens, 8 ans, je m'en souviens, 9 ans, ça devient un peu comme un gris. 10 ans, ça devient un peu dans le sombre. 11 ans, c'est là qu'il y a le blackout. C'est là qu'il y a le blackout, tu sais. Comme un black. C'est l'amnésie rétrograde, là. Des fois, ça revient. C'est sûr. L'amnésie, de perte de mémoire de même, ça n'affecte pas les mathématiques. Et bien sûr, ça n'affecte pas les mathématiques. Le savoir des mathématiques, ça n'affecte pas, bien sûr, ces choses du langage, la manière qu'on communique. Le langage, ça affecte juste la mémoire. Fait qu'à cause de ces trompes, et c'est seulement le trompe qui cause, et des fois, par le trompe, ça revient. Et des fois, bien sûr, ça peut être une maladie prolongée que ça cause cette perte de mémoire. Fait que c'est possible qu'à cause de la moisissure, où j'habitais là, la maladie, hein, j'étais en dépression suicidaire. Puis là, en 2017, j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte. Fait que, en traversant le Canada de côte à côte, hein, ça m'a fait sortir de ma dépression. Fait que, depuis ce temps-là, j'ai établi un esprit de corps solide avec le Québec, le Canada. Et bien sûr, regardez, un beau papillon. Puis il faut que je me tourne la tête. Ça tourne en arrière pour regarder, mais c'est que je traverse la rue prudemment, là, en d'autres mots. Fait que bon, pour le dire, c'est pas que je suis rendu, tu sais. C'est l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, encore une fois, c'est pas une maladie mentale. Il y a beaucoup de travail à faire encore, là, mais c'est pas une maladie mentale, s'il vous plaît. Hein. Juste l'autre jour, là, ça fait 2 semaines, là, j'avais parlé avec quelqu'un, puis un citoyen, puis j'avais parlé de l'Asperger's, puis il a dit ah, ouais, je connais, c'est une maladie. Non, c'est pas une maladie. C'est pas une maladie. C'est pas une maladie, c'est une condition de neurodivergence. Cette condition de neurodivergence, cette condition de neurodivergence, ça fait que je vois le monde différemment. Fait, en voyant le monde différemment, bien, c'est sûr que j'ai de la misère, j'ai perdu beaucoup d'amis, hein, j'ai bien des amis, bien de l'emploi, bien des choses. Bien, c'est une malcompréhension, mais c'est des choses que des fois on est mal compris, des fois ça marche pas bien, tu sais, à cause de l'autisme hautement fonctionnel. Puis des fois, tu sais, du monde qui passe en cours, des autistes pour des choses que tu comprends pas vraiment, là, des choses, tu sais, c'est des normes de la société, là, briser certaines normes ou des choses comme ça. Fait que ça arrive souvent. Encore une fois, ça vient de ces mutations du cerveau, puis on peut rien faire parce que ces mutations, c'est des mutations que tu vis avec. Puis encore une fois, les Asperger's, il n'y en a pas bien beaucoup dans le monde. Hein. C'est 0,44%, même pas 1%, même pas la moitié d'un pourcentage, comparé à 99,50% de la vaste majorité des gens. Là. Fait que c'est une grosse proportion. Vous êtes 99,56%. Fait que je dois toujours construire des ponts envers les autres, avec les autres, puis leur expliquer parce que certaines caractéristiques, c'est pas des symptômes. Des fois, on va se rapprocher, on va briser l'espace personnel. Fait qu'on va se rapprocher de l'espace personnel, on va briser, on va répéter 2-3 fois la même chose. On va dire comme des mots, répéter 2-3 fois la même phrase. On va les coller là aussi, ça veut dire que quelqu'un va dire quelque chose, quelque chose va dire une phrase, un paragraphe, puis nous, on va répéter le paragraphe à voix haute ou la phrase, là, des choses comme ça. Fait que, tu sais, ça peut causer un certain... C'est surtout, tu sais, l'espace personnel, parce que les aspects moi-même, il faut que je le travaille, puis ça fait bien longtemps qu'on me l'avait dit, puis on m'avait diagnostiqué, ça fait par plusieurs personnes, là, puis c'est sûr que je l'ai, mais c'est sûr que pouvoir me permettre là, des frais, puis pouvoir me permettre du soin là, dans le privé, c'est sûr que ça coûte. C'est coûteux, hein, ça coûte. Là. Puis juste pour mes autres, je suis en attente du médecin de famille depuis 2021. Là. Et c'est des choses que je vis avec. C'est des choses lesquelles je dois vivre avec. Là. Et je vis avec, comme je vis avec mes cicatrices. En stress financier, encore une fois, ben, j'aime bien, là, puis j'adore le fait que j'ai été donné une opportunité aujourd'hui hein, pour travailler, puis c'est 30$ de l'heure, là, c'était... Hey, c'est beau, je suis content, 30$ de l'heure, je peux pas en plaindre, puis ça a fait à 150, et... C'est 150, là. Fait que c'est bon, ça a été une bonne journée pour moi, puis je vais pouvoir payer un peu, là. Je vais acheter du vin du Québec, du vin du Québec. À la Chine, j'ai trouvé une place. J'ai trouvé du vin qui spécialise dans le vin du Québec. Produits locaux. Là, fait que, ben, c'est sûr que c'est plus cher que les vins que j'achète à 10$, 9$, 8$. Je ne bois pas souvent, mais c'est juste pour la fin de semaine. Là. J'aimerais ça en essayer un. J'ai dit que j'en ai vu un l'autre jour, c'était 16,65. Fait que c'est celle-là que j'ai dans la tête. C'était le moins cher, là, parce qu'il y en avait à 20, 30, 40, 44 et 5, et 93, mais il y en avait plus, là. Mais c'était ça le moins cher, vraiment, là-bas, mais parallèlement, j'en ai vu d'autres. Mais c'est ça le moins cher que je m'en souviens, là. Fait que, anyways, là, je vais pouvoir faire ça, mais je vais donner un 40$. Un 40$ à mon ami anonyme pour acheter les filtres d'eau là, pour pouvoir boire de l'eau plus propre. Et c'est ça qu'on doit faire. Puis c'est pour ça que je suis plus jovial, plus joyeux, plus content que d'habitude à cause de cet argent-là que j'ai fait. Oh, j'ai 20 secondes, je vais pouvoir faire des choses comme ça, mais c'est des choses que je dois faire moi-même. Et bien sûr, dans cette condition que je suis moi-même, je traverse la rue maintenant. J'ai 7 secondes. Je vais traverser 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Et traverser à temps, c'est important. Là. Que j'ai traversé à temps, mais c'est des choses vraiment que je dois le faire dans le quotidien. Tu sais. Dans le quotidien, c'est sûr que nous, à cause des aspects, à cause de nos intérêts spéciaux, qui préoccupent la plupart de notre temps, on peut négliger certaines choses. Fait que c'est ça le problème en majeur, là. En grosse partie, c'est vraiment ça le problème majeur. C'est qu'on a besoin d'un certain soutien, un certain support vis-à-vis à notre vie au quotidien, les tâches, des fois les choses c'est du quotidien, là, mais à part ça, c'est sûr que ça fait bien sûr des bonnes choses. Bien, je veux dire qu'on est bon et super bon, excellent. Dans les intérêts spéciaux, moi c'est la géopolitique, l'entraînement physique, la géopolitique, bien sûr. Je suis un analyste intéressé en géopolitique, encore une fois, je répète, qui a prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. En 2019, j'en fais tous les jours des analyses, analyse et théorie, là, parce que je suis un philosophe ainsi, analyste intéressé en géopolitique et artiste, là, qui adore la danse, qui adore le sport, l'entraînement physique. La danse, c'est mon sport préféré, fait que c'est des choses là qu'il faut que je voie, puis avec le rock and roll dans ces conditions, et bien sûr, bien sûr, c'est des choses là, que je dois l'expliquer aux gens, là, que des fois, dans certaines choses, j'ai de la misère, puis les Asperger's, nous, on a de la misère. Mais c'est that's it, that's all. Dans d'autres choses, on est vraiment super bon. Mais moi, j'ai pas besoin de beaucoup de sport, honnêtement. Pas beaucoup de soutien, là, mais il y en a qui ont besoin plus de soutien que d'autres. Puis nous, c'est le dire des fois directement, parce que, tu sais, on voit les choses différemment. On a ces mutations dans le cerveau, puis on est différents. C'est des choses là qu'il faut que je vis avec, comme je vis bien, avec mon trône, mes cicatrices, puis comme je vis ici maintenant, jovial, joyeux, j'ai fait du beau travail. Je pense qu'ils ont aimé ça, mais je pense que c'est du beau travail, puis que j'ai fait le plus possible, mais s'il y a d'autres travails, ben, je serai là pour d'autres travails, puis j'aime ça être actif physiquement, je peux être intense, je peux être concentré, je peux être super dedans dans certaines choses, mais je suis pas violent, j'aime pas la violence. Je suis hyper vigilant à cause de mes traumes, mes souffrances, mes attaques, plusieurs attaques dans le passé que j'ai eues, puis ces traumes-là, les cicatrices avec lesquelles je vis. Mais là, je vais discuter la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. TRD, vite. Super important que je la discute, car, et bien sûr, c'est la solution qui va pouvoir nous sauver, bien, du point de vue de nous sauver, d'où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, dans la situation financière, qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, dans la situation financière qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, bien sûr, c'est des choses qu'il faut qu'on discute de moi-même dans ce coin de convergence. Et pour faire attention quand je traverse la rue, je recule un peu, puis je regarde la gauche à droite, tourner la gauche à droite, bien sûr dans ce point de départ ici, là, parce que des fois, tu sais, les automobiles, il fait chaud, ça s'arrête pas, puis bien sûr, ça pèse sur l'accélérateur à place de peser sur le frein, fait que c'est toujours, il faut faire une diligence vis-à-vis l'autrui. Je suis dans le public, fait que j'ai des responsabilités additionnelles là, que j'ai pas vraiment dans d'autres places. J'ai des responsabilités additionnelles. Là. Je suis pas chez nous dans ma grotte, fait que faut que je tourne ma tête de la gauche et de la droite, là, que je passe. Ouais, je me fais klaxonner, mais je pense qu'il est allé trop vite un peu. Hein. Je pense que vous avez trop pesé sur la pédale. Tu sais. Je pense que vous avez trop pesé sur la pédale. Tu sais. Pesez trop sur la pédale, tu sais. Ah, on va voir. Ah, je suis bien content pour avoir de la nourriture. Tu sais. Et voilà. On va être cuit. Je vais juste prendre ça, je vais laisser le reste pour quelqu'un d'autre. Là. Ça, je vais checker la date par exemple. Là. Ah ouais. Ok, fait que c'est juste vraiment ça. Hey, merci, man. Il faut que ça soit décongelé, hein. 20 à 24 heures. Fait que je vais le faire demain en après-midi. Là. Faut que ça reste. Là. Faut que ça reste bien cuit. Fait que il faut que ça soit décongelé 10. « 20 à 24 heures, c'est beaucoup dans le réfrigérateur. Fait que, ouais, regardez dans le frigo, mais c'est un compostage. Fait que je vais le faire demain, jeudi, ça va être un bon. Hey, merci. L'autre, le poisson, quelqu'un d'autre va le prendre. Je vais laisser le poisson pour quelqu'un d'autre. Là. Fait que, merci. J'aimerais ça mettre de quoi dans le frigidaire, moi aussi, à chaque fois. Mais là même, avec le 150 que j'ai fait aujourd'hui, je suis quand même en crise financière parce que bon, le loyer s'en vient, l'Hydro-Québec s'en vient, l'électricité s'en vient. Puis j'ai quand même austère, mais que je sois en possibilité à un moment donné, c'est sûr que je vais remplir le frigidaire au complet. Ça va être une bonne contribution que moi-même je vais faire. Tu sais. Cette contribution de faire, d'avoir des bonnes choses à mettre la nourriture, choses sucrées. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, je vous l'explique maintenant. TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est la seule solution, c'est un paradoxe que je la mets sur la table, mais car est dû à cause que, bien sûr, on est rendu à un point de crise dans les finances publiques. Là. On est rendu pas juste dans le public, mais dans le privé aussi, bien sûr, on a un record de cartes de crédit, là, de record de dette. Fait que ce record de dette, c'est un record parce que là, on est rendu à avoir des records de dette, de cartes de crédit. Fait que c'est tellement élevé, ça n'a jamais été comme ça. C'est une alarme là, que ça a sonné depuis un couple d'années, mais là, l'année passée, bien plus. Puis le Canada et les États-Unis sont dans une situation similaire du public, du privé. C'est pour ça que je dis, puis je fais bien sûr continuer à me dire que c'est la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qu'il faut faire l'implémentation. Et du point de vue où on est rendu, du point de vue des mathématiques, des finances, c'est sûr qu'à cause au fait que durant la COVID, et moi-même j'ai survécu la COVID, ça a fait bien sûr que j'ai survécu la COVID de moi-même. Et bien sûr, ayant survécu la COVID, c'est quelque chose que moi-même, je dois figurer dans l'ensemble de l'entente, pour le dire moi-même. Cette figuration, de le faire, bien sûr, pour le dire, que bien sûr, c'est dans cette figuration d'aujourd'hui, puis rendu les chiffres, puis les mathématiques, les principes financiers mathématiquement, les finances mathématiques, principes financiers mathématiques s'appliquent, bien sûr, pour le public et pour le privé. Fait que dû au fait que, durant la COVID, l'intérêt qu'on a payé sur la dette publique du Canada, ça a tellement augmenté en pourcentage, puis il faudrait vérifier les chiffres, là, mais bien sûr, c'est une revérification constante des chiffres. Mais le fait qu'on paye d'intérêt tellement d'intérêt qu'on a payé, bien sûr, sur la dette publique, c'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut prendre en note, puis il faut le noter dans ce point de l'avoir, bien sûr, pour l'utiliser dans ce contexte d'où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui. Fait que dans ce contexte, actuellement, les dettes, c'est pas vraiment le problème, la dette, c'est l'intérêt, bien sûr. Et vu que le coût de la vie a augmenté tellement, c'est ça qui rajoute un double épée là, dessus sur le problème des finances. Pour ça, juste imaginez-vous le coût du gaz. C'était 93 de moyenne en 2020 avant la COVID. Là, c'est 156 en moyenne. Fait que la moyenne, c'est plus que 70%. Fait qu'imaginez-vous que l'augmentation salariale moyennement, c'était 4,4% moyennement. L'augmentation du salaire, c'était 4,4%. Fait qu'imaginez-vous là, le gros changement tellement un gros changement que ça met de la pression sur les finances publiques. C'est ça le problème, c'est qu'on est proche d'avoir un effondrement. Peut-être aujourd'hui, ça commence demain, dans les jours, semaines et mois à venir. Tu sais. C'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'au moi-même, il faut que je le dise. Fait qu'il faut qu'on fasse une refusion. Il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Et dans ma TRD, c'est inclus aussi la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Fait que dedans ma TRD est inclus dans la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, est intégrée la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Ça, c'est super important que je le répète, bien sûr, parce que ça fait partie du complexe de ce que je discute. Puis de l'implémentation de ma TRD, ça doit être implémenté aussitôt parce qu'on est dans on est dans une crise bientôt urgente. Là, c'est possible qu'il y ait un effondrement, pas juste public, mais privé aussi. Bon, possible que là, je retourne chez nous, puis le marché boursier, là, il y a un crash boursier, là, il y a un effondrement de la bourse. C'est possible, c'est sur l'horizon, c'est le tarif avec la Chine a été mis un petit peu en pause, fait que ça a causé un peu de rebondissement, là, mais l'important, c'est la TRD. Ou quelque chose qui ressemble, qu'il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation. Fait que je vous l'explique le plus possible. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Fait que dans ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire, OK? Fait que dans cette théorie, dans ma TRD est intégrée la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Fait que bien sûr, dans ce point de convergence, pour le dire, bien sûr, c'est la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Bien sûr que moi aussi, il faut que je fasse. C'est quelque chose, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je le dise dans le point qu'on est rendu maintenant. Vous voyez ces belles fleurs que j'adore, c'est comme des buissons. Ça sent bon à mon goût, là, fait que je vais juste sentir un peu. Ah, ça me donne plus d'énergie pour discuter de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, mais je sais pas, je trouve ça vraiment beau, ces fleurs-là. Là. C'est un buisson, là. Savez-vous c'est quoi le nom des fleurs du buisson?
Non, je ne sais pas. Moi, j'en ai une vraie comme ça chez nous. Elle était là quand on a acheté.
Oui. Je les aime bien, puis ça sent bon.
Comme un genre de spirée.
C'est un bon blanc, on dirait. Ça me fait penser à la neige un peu.
Oui, bien, quand les flocons,
Ouais.
fleurs tombent, ça fait des petites pétales.
Ça ne me venait pas en tête le mot, là, mais je les aime bien. Là.
Ah, bien, tant mieux.
Ça rafraîchit un peu. Bonne journée. Ça a sûrement un mot latin, tu sais, albus floris, là. Salut. C'est, oui, c'est floris blanc. C'est, floris, ça veut dire fleur. Je suis pas un maître du latin, mais j'en parle un peu, même la devise de Montréal, c'est Concordia Salus, tu sais. C'est Concordia Salus. C'est sûrement Blanxus Floris, Cipitus Aepsis, Odus Floris, Florentalis. Bon, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est super important qu'on fasse l'implémentation de la TRD. Pourquoi? Ben, c'est sûr qu'on est proche d'avoir un effondrement si vous faites le calcul des finances, là. C'est juste regarder les chiffres. Il ne faut pas être un expert dans les mathématiques, mais ça indique un effondrement sur l'horizon. Fait que la TRD, ça contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée. Ma dette, ta dette, sa dette, votre dette, notre dette. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va faire une refusion. La dette de côte à côte. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, toute cette dette-là, on va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Dans la devise des États-Unis. Dans la devise des États-Unis. Fait qu'on va faire toute cette refusion dans la devise des États-Unis. Hein. Fait que toute la dette complètement, je parle, c'est pas juste la mienne, là, ça va être du Canada au complet, public ainsi que privé. Fait que cette dette-là, bien sûr, on va faire la refusion de côte à côte. De côte à côte, de côte à côte. Dans la devise du Canada. Dans la devise du Canada, je veux dire la dette publique privée du Canada, on va faire la conversion dans la devise bien sûr, des États-Unis. On va additionner bien tout ça ensemble. Et bien sûr, ensemble, on va mettre toutes ces choses-là, bien sûr, dans ce convertissement. Puis on va faire l'analyse je veux dire, l'intégration, puis on va mettre l'addition ensemble. Addition avec cette dette publique-privée. Toute cette dette publique-privée, on va faire l'addition ensemble. Du Canada, de côte à côte. Fait que cet argent-là, on va le mettre de côte à côte ensemble. Fait qu'on va faire cette refusion totale. On va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée convertie de côte à côte dans la devise des États-Unis, on va faire la conversion et on va la mettre ensemble. Je m'étire un peu avant de continuer. C'est des choses qu'il faut que je regarde. Des choses qu'il faut que je voie, tirer de la gauche à droite, je l'explique encore une fois, puis je retourne chez nous. La TRD, on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, tout cet argent-là, on va faire la refusion ensemble. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée du Canada, convertie dans la devise des États-Unis, cet argent-là, on va faire la refusion. Dans la devise des États-Unis, addition avec la dette des États-Unis, on va mettre tout ça ensemble. On va faire la création d'une... Cet argent-là va servir pour la création d'une nouvelle banque centrale. On va faire la création d'une nouvelle banque centrale ainsi qu'un nouveau argent, comme qu'ils ont fait en Europe. Parce que dans ma TRD est intégrée la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Fait qu'on va mettre tout ça ensemble, on va faire la création de l'UI. U point unité, A point échange, point universel. U point unité, A point échange, point universel. Le UI. U point unité, A point échange, point universel. L'unité d'échange universelle aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Voilà la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Fait que l'unité d'échange universelle, on va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. 10%, ça ne pourra pas être plus que 10. Après ça, ça peut être 3,33, 7,18, 4,18, 9,3, 6,1, 3,33, 1,56. En bas de 10 par principe. Fait que tout cet argent-là, on va le mettre ensemble. Tout cet argent-là, ça va faire une refusion totale. Fait qu'avec cet argent-là, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure du Québec, on va construire les 44 tunnels, les 44 tunnels, parce qu'avec un enfant, je vais attendre ici de côté, là, pour me mettre en sécurité, puis... Pour l'enfant, parce que j'ai un sac à dos, là, j'ai un gros sac à dos, puis, tu sais, il est gros, je veux pas être, tu sais, dans... Pour ça, je me suis tassé un peu. Pour la sécurité de ma tante, ma cousine, que ça soit, comme je vous considère ma famille, là, depuis que ben des années, là, mais, du Canada, mais c'est ça la TRD. On va faire la théorie de la refusion de la dette, et c'est des choses qu'il faut qu'on fasse, parce qu'on est en train d'avoir un effondrement. Fait qu'on va faire toute la théorie de la refusion de la dette. On va faire cette conversion-là dans la devise des États-Unis, on va faire l'addition ensemble. Cet argent-là, ça va se mettre ensemble de côté pour fonder cette nouvelle banque puis la création de l'unité d'échange universelle. U point unité, point échange, point universel, c'est ça. L'argent, c'est ça, vraiment, une unité d'échange. Ça aura la valeur de l'or des États-Unis. Avec cet argent-là, on va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, financer les gens au tourisme, financer les gens à faire de l'entraînement physique, construire les 44 tunnels, là. Dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire, et bien sûr, construire plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, construire l'Hydro-Québec, construire plus de centrales, construire plus en dessous de la terre, construire des aqueducs, des tuyaux, bien sûr, et bâtir des aqueducs, des tunnels, et bien sûr, on va faire plus de choses avec cet argent-là. On va tourner de la gauche à droite et la gauche. Fait que tout cet argent-là, ça va fonder une nouvelle banque. Cet argent-là va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Et bien sûr, on va mettre ce taux d'intérêt de 10%. Taux d'intérêt de 10%. Fait que ce taux d'intérêt de 10%, ça va être maximum 10. Il ne pourra pas avoir plus que 10. C'est ça le principe. Ça va être un principe. Il ne pourra pas avoir plus que 10. En bas, oui, pas plus. Puis on va rebâtir l'infrastructure du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, les aqueducs, on va bien faire du bien commun avec ça. Fait que du bien commun, puis le public, privé, bien sûr, ce partenariat-là qu'on va devoir faire pour l'établissement, puis la création aussi de 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit l'armée du dragon, officiellement, disons, la Légion pour la sécurité, service et défense, c'est que l'Amérique du Nord, la Légion pour la sécurité, service et défense, cette armée du dragon aura par fonction, ça fonctionnera seulement et juste pour la sécurité, service, défense. Sécurité, service, défense. Sécurité, service, défense pour la sécurité, service, défense. Fait que ça aura bien sûr comme... Je vais passer de l'autre bord, vous savez comme il faut. On va avoir comme le service, sécurité, service, sécurité, défense. Service, sécurité, défense. Service, sécurité, défense, ça va être le principe primordial principalement. On ne pourra pas avoir plus. Et vous voyez, bien sûr, ça c'est des belles fleurs jaunes, que moi je les aime bien, là. Fleurs jaunes comme ça, là, c'est belles fleurs jaunes, là. Et c'est des choses qu'il va falloir qu'on fasse, là.
Are you over them at daycare?
Et bien sûr. Il n'y a pas de solution, hein, à d'autres solutions que ça. Fait qu'il va falloir que je le dise, il va falloir que je le fasse et il va falloir qu'on le fasse ensemble. Dans ce principe, où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas de solution. C'est ça. C'est ça. C'est ça le principe le plus important, bien sûr, pour qu'on y aille dans la vie, pour qu'on fasse de cette manière, pour qu'on fasse de l'avance. Il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Le roi est absent. Le roi Charles. C'est le temps pour la République, puis c'est la manière qu'on va fusionner le Canada et les États-Unis pour les 63, les 10 provinces, 50 États et 3 territoires. Ça fait 50 plus 10 plus 3, 10 plus 3 plus 50, 10 plus 50 plus 3, ça fait 63. On va faire un grand recensement, la création d'un passeport commun de côte à côte, l'intégration par mise en place de mes protocoles pour la sécurité, service et défense totale, soit le dragon, les nouveaux protocoles pour la défense et le nouveau protocole de 911, parce que quand on appelle 911, mais c'est au Canada, aux États-Unis et même au Mexique, hein, c'est le même numéro, mais plus pour la police, l'urgence, le service de sécurité, mais ça va être basé sur des nouveaux protocoles pour la sécurité, service et défense. SSD total, d'intégration citoyenne de côte à côte, océan-océan, puis la création de l'unité d'échange universelle par l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. En faisant ça, on va pouvoir financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, construire les 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire à travers le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. On va pouvoir bien sûr ainsi faire d'autres services et bien sûr on va pouvoir bâtir des aqueducs et des tunnels, des aqueducs. On va pouvoir remplir bien des nids de poules, du travail public. On va pouvoir faire du bien pour le commun, là, du bien commun. On va pouvoir financer les 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit l'armée de la déesse qui danse, connue officiellement la Ligue de danse Integrée nord-américaine pour l'environnement, l'éducation de l'environnement, puis pour le plaisir. L'éducation puis l'action, hein, pour l'environnement, puis la danse pour le plaisir, puis bien sûr, l'armée du dragon. L'armée du dragon. L'armée du dragon. Pour la sécurité, service et défense, pour les 63. Pour fusionner, on va faire un passeport commun, puis un passeport commun. Un passeport commun, un d'échange commun, puis on va financer les gens au tourisme aussi parce que ça fait du bien. C'est ces petites blanches que j'aime bien, hein, sont vraiment belles. Fait que prêtez allégeance les gens, vous êtes famille, prêtez allégeance les gens, vous êtes famille. prêter allégeance aux gens vous êtes famille, puis c'est quand même ça un peu où qu'on est rendu aujourd'hui, puis où que je dois le faire. Et c'est des choses bien sûr qu'il faut que je le fasse moi-même dans cet environnement qu'on est rendu, puis en tournant la tête de la gauche à droite, pour que je regarde et je passe. Parce que des fois, les freins fonctionnent mal, fait que je dois toujours avoir une certaine prudence vis-à-vis, bien sûr, où que je suis moi-même maintenant. C'est du soleil, la canicule, fait que faut que je traverse. C'est possible, les freins fonctionnent mal, et bien sûr, des choses comme ça, puis c'est des choses comme ça, que je dois faire moi-même. Dans cette profondeur où je suis aujourd'hui, puis la TRD, super important. Prêtez allégeance, les gens, vous êtes famille, on va faire bien du bien avec cette théorie, on va faire beaucoup de bien pour l'individu, pour le collectif, puis j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en géopolitique en 2019, en octobre, en novembre, j'ai la preuve, j'ai en ligne les documents et les vidéos en ligne que j'ai mis, mais j'ai la preuve de ce que je dis quand je dis que j'ai prévu la situation de la géopolitique actuelle sur les conflits sur quasiment une troisième guerre mondiale que j'avais prévu, mais basé sur c'est ça, je fais au quotidien l'analyse, la théorie en géopolitique. C'est des choses bien sûr que je fais moi-même de cette analyse et théorie en géopolitique, et bien sûr, je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique qui a prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en 2019. J'ai pas toutes les solutions, mais quand même, puis pour vous dire un petit raccourci, un petit résumé de mes prédictions, c'est que je dis qu'à cause est dû au fait que des régions, des pays, des nations-États n'ont pas été capables de résoudre leurs problèmes qui dataient du 20e siècle, surtout durant la guerre froide, qui a duré entre 1947 et 1941. Entre mars 1947 et décembre 1991, c'est sûr que ça a duré tellement longtemps, quasiment 3 générations, plus que 44 ans, 44 ans et 9 mois. Mars 1947 à mars 1947 à décembre, fin de décembre 1991, faites le calcul, c'est quasiment 45 ans. C'est sûr, ça a duré beaucoup. Et c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse dans cette condition d'avoir, bien sûr, ces valeurs. Ouais, c'est quoi cette affaire-là? Il s'ouvre, ah oui, il s'ouvre. Il s'ouvre bien. Et c'est des belles fleurs, ça, me sentir un peu. Moi, c'est un senteur quand même. Vous voyez, les noms, ça n'en vient pas, mais c'est des choses, bien sûr, pour le faire. Et c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse dans cette affaire-là. Et dans ce domaine-là, que je suis moi-même sur la route. Fait que j'adore voir les fleurs qui sont différentes, puis sont bien sûr partout un peu, comme dans le coin, mais des fois je dois le faire moi-même, dans ce compliment, bien sûr, pour le faire. Oh, ça, c'est de belles fleurs qui vont. Eux autres, y a-t-il beaucoup de fourmis, par exemple? C'est les globes, que je les appelle les fleurs globes, moi-même, globus floris, je donne des noms en latin, des fois, parce que j'ai vécu des autres incarnations, des fois j'étais né femme, des fois j'étais né homme, des fois j'étais né femme, puis c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse dans ce point d'envouement, pour le dire, dans ce point d'avoir de l'intérêt, pour l'intérêt public, pour qu'est-ce qu'on fait, bien sûr, ici dans le soleil, qu'on envisage, et bien sûr, je vais passer la tendance, je passe maintenant à 15. Je passe maintenant 9, 10, 8, 5, et voilà, ça fait du bien, pour le plaisir. Et c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse. Passer en circulation, bien sûr, de la circulation, mais c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse moi-même, puis que je sois vigilant, puis prudent, puis je vis en hypervigilance, mais j'aime pas la violence. Prêter allégeance, Légion, la TRD, la création de l'unité d'échange universel, bien sûr, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut que je répète moi-même, et bien sûr, dans ce point de convergence, bien sûr, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut que je regarde moi-même dans cette belle où qu'on est rendu, bien sûr, maintenant, puis fait un bon point, puis je traverse en sécurité, vous traversez en sécurité, puis c'est prêter allégeance, les gens, on fait du bon, puis faites de l'amour à soi, c'est le message principal, là. Soyez prudents sur la route, si vous êtes millionnaire, donnez un peu, puis prêtez allégeance les gens, vous êtes famille. Rock and roll, 24/24. Pour les fermiers, les boulangers, tous ceux qui font vraiment physique, c'est quelque chose que je dois faire, puis c'est quelque chose que j'encourage, même le financement par l'implémentation de ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Let's go a little bit of cadence, not a lot, we're gonna do a little quickie. 13th, 14th, or 15th in the city. Cadence, property of the Dragon Army, use only if you're ally or an army, pledge your allegiance. A little bit of cadence. Property of the Dragon Army, create a freestyle mode by the brothers and sisters, and no, you know the motto of the Dragon Army. Nobody is born a dragon, nobody is born a dragon, nobody is born a dragon, not even myself. The blood, sweat, and tears to change that surname into an O and turn that A into an O. So it took a long time, years and years and years, did hundreds of workout videos, and that's what we gotta get doing, man. And we gotta get that paper, and we gotta expand it, and we gotta love, and we gotta heal, and we gotta get that Dragon Army for SSD for the 63. Let's go, pledge your allegiance to our family. Dragon Army cadence freestyle created now. In the city by the concrete is the heat. In the city by the concrete is the heat. Marching in steel toes, Dragon Army cadence beats. Beautiful yellow flowers that I see. It's the heat of the city. It's the heat of the city. It's the sea of the city. And you know we gotta be left and right in harmony. And you know we gotta be left and right in harmony. And you know we gotta do. And it's me and you. The crows are roaming in the sky where the hawks are. That's where we be alive. Marching steps don't never lie. Men lie, women lie. Marching steps never lie. Men lie, women lie. Marching steps do never lie. Men lie, women lie. Marching steps never lie. For the butchers, for the bakers, for the cooks. For the butchers, for the bakers, for the cooks. For the cooks, for the butchers, for the bakers. Gotta go, construction workers. Gotta plumb it up. Gotta know that's we got. And you know we squeezing facts. By the rows, on the crows, on the freestyle, on the mode. Dragon Army, here we go. On the clocks and here it goes. For the firefighters, marching steps. For the nurses, doctors, butchers, marching steps. Daycare workers, change some smellies. The diapers, gotta march in steps. Gotta go up in the U and gotta see left and right. And you know the truckers rock and roll. Gotta give it for those flipping some of those hamburgers. Fast food workers, they gotta send some loving on the know. Hey, in the city, concrete jungle. By the rivers, by the mountains, by the valleys. In the rivers, by the mountains, by the valleys. You know that's we be, we see. Dragon Army. On the doers, on the bakers, on the left and on the right, and the doing on the right and on the doing on the right, on the left and doing sights. For the left and doing mites. Hey, we don't do it for some bites. Dragon Army for the SSD. We throw that 63. Dragon Army 40 SSD. In the air we throw that SSD for 10 provinces, 50 states and 3 territories. For the 63, you know how we be. For the 63, you know that we be. On the left, on the right, you know that's we squeeze inside. And you know we are polite. Dragon Army plays that defense. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Montreal to San Francisco. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Montreal to San Francisco. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Montreal to San Francisco. Gotta get it that you see and gotta get it that you be. Left and right we live in steps in harmony. And you know it's marching sun. Sun is rising, sun is setting. Every second sun is rising, sun is setting. Every second. The truckers on the road salute. Butchers, bakers, cooks, cooking some of that food. Gotta do it so you do. Gotta do it so you be. Gotta do it so you see. For the left and right and bees. Are we gonna be? So to love, that's the harmony. And to love, we gotta love it. And to be, we gotta be it. Gotta see and to believe it. 40 SSD. Gotta love on me to squeeze it. Gotta love on me to squeeze it. Gotta left, gotta right. Gotta see the songs and sights. Gotta love and gotta write. Dragon Army, that's the site. SSD. That's security, service, and defense. Dragon Army. Pledge your allegiance, legions to our family. Hey, you know how we march, where the sandals are still toes. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. And you know, we gotta see, gotta be, gotta see, on the do, on the love it. That's the sun, and that's the shining. Hey, Dragon Army catered, property of the Dragon Army, auctioning everything that I'm wearing and boots, work boots, tools, and pledge your allegiance, our family. Gotta get a little bit of that loving and gotta get a little bit of that drill and get some flowers, some neighborhoods. Pledge your allegiance, our family, and Dragon Army, push-ups, hugs, and tickles with it. And go drink me a river at home. Headquarters underneath, it's still in the basement, but bigger than I used to live, so yeah. Good day today, happy, joyous.